Alright, so here's a Sanctum that I did on the build yesterday. You can kind of see how it works. You just throw down your SRS and they'll go kill the guards. And you can also, I don't know if I do it in this clip, but you can throw your SRS like from behind a wall and then go attack the bosses, so that gives you a little bit more safety to make sure you don't get hit, but it's not really necessary since you can just throw them down and dodge anyways. Sometimes their AI is a little wonky if you do that, but you might want to consider using Predator if you want to do that. That should make it smoother if you want to just cast them behind a wall. So that's what a I don't even know why there's normal, a pre-lobby. Stop talking. So that's what a normal room looks like with the Sanctum, and this is I'll show the boss here. All right, so here's what the final boss looks like. This is, I think in this run I have an Affliction that also gives me less damage, so this is lower damage than it would normally look like. There's another run where I pretty much just insta-gibbed her. I mean, she pretty much dies in like 5 seconds there anyways, but... And to be clear, this is a tier 16. I'm also in a tankier setup because I'm in hardcore, so it doesn't match exactly what's in the PoE. The PoE has a lot more damage. So she can't really ever hit you on this build because, I mean, your minions just go and slap her and you just take all the time you need to dodge. See the bonus phase here. So you can see you just apply both your curses for maximum damage and also slows her. And dead. I think it's gonna be huge. Here's what a quick tier 16 on this build looks like. You basically just run in and throw your SRS down and cast your Ace, which is on a Divine Blessing setup since you're EV. It's pretty fast. You don't really have to wait around too much for your SRS to clear things. Just pop them and go. You also have to make sure you're casting your offering. I use Bone Offering, and you probably should too if you don't want to die. But if you want to go like full zoom, you can also use your Flesh Offering. And whenever you need single target, you can just pop your curse. So, and you clear map bosses with no problem, even with the mapping setup, which swaps out 2 gems in order for better clear speed. In exchange for your single target, you can get a lot more single target with your bossing gem swaps, which I will get into in the PoE. Alright, so to get like the bare bones build working, which still gives you millions of DPS, at the very minimum, or maximum, I don't know, whatever. You need United in Dream, which seems to be about like 42C, and you need 2 jewels with Minion have chance to poison, and you need Darkness Enthroned. So that's like 50C to make the build function and get a couple billion DPS. This is another big jewel. It's 8 divines. It's not necessary though, but it'll give you another couple million for quote unquote relatively cheap, but the required items are ultra cheap right now. So very, very budget build. The other thing I'd say that is really huge that you want to have is the Covenant. And this is a little more expensive. It's about 6 divines for a 6-linked one. So about 6 divines and 50 C for the base items, I'd say. I wouldn't worry too much about this if you can't afford it. You really want to focus on getting the Covenant. Alright, so the PoE. Make sure you check the notes section. I wrote a lot of stuff here. Yeah. So start off with the build rating. Boss damage, 10 out of 10. Damage uptime, 10 out of 10. Since you just keep casting your birds and they apply a DOT, so you pretty much have 100% damage uptime. Clear speed's like a 7 out of 10. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit higher. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not like a full zoomer build, but it's pretty good. So defense 5 out of 10. You rely a lot on block. You don't have too much damage mitigation. You can get a few endurance charges like on your jewelry. You can get a fair bit of life, but there's no like really huge defense in this build. There's no like taking advantage of like a lot of mechanics or anything. It's just like block suppression. And that's about it. Budget in terms of what you get is 10 out of 10. Like I said, you can get the build going with 50C. I'll show you here. Like we take off the Covenant, take off that. I mean, you're still at like 12 million DPS. I'll even take off this cluster. Not sure what the cluster is worth, but you have a few options for large cluster. You can either get one with like 8 passives and then just make sure it has Call to Slaughter. Or you can get a 12 passive one with increased effect. I don't really know what that'll cost, but it's not huge. So even if I like take that off, the entire large cluster, still sitting at like 10 million DPS. So that is quite good. And to be fair, it is oh, did I just like oh. I hope I didn't ruin anything by spamming Control Z there. I might have. Well, I'll double check that after the video. But so yeah. That is that. So yeah, it is very budget. So if you're looking for a good build to clear the lead mechanic really good, there you go. And yeah, it can also farm Uber bosses, honestly. You might need to tweak a few things to make it more tanky, but you can definitely farm Ubers with it as well. And so here are your skills. There's a few things with the skills here. It does require some gem swaps. I think I mentioned that in like the map clearing thing. So while you're mapping, you're going to want to use melee splash minion speed, and you'll swap that out for Unbound Ammons and Multi-Strike for bossing. And you might also want to try Predator if you feel like the targeting is wonky or anything. So one of the really cool things about this build is that your Animate Guardian, normally on minion builds, your Animate Guardian will die, but it's pretty much impossible for your Animate Guardian build to die in this build because specifically of this minion defense mastery. Minions recover 5% of life on minion death, and your SRS die pretty often. It's kind of what they do. So your Animate Guardian will get 5% life every single time one dies. It makes it pretty much impossible for it to die. So here's what here are your options throwing on it. Helmet Leer Cast. The new Leer Cast got buffed. It's like 50% increased damage. It's really good. Another thing you might want to consider is I think it's called Mark of the Tyrant or something. Corrupted one of those for White Socket would be pretty good. I don't know if it's better than Leer Cast, but it's more effort than it's worth for me. And I'm not sure if it's more damage, but it's probably considerably more expensive. So yeah, I'd just say stick with Leer Cast. Body armor. Crusader Influence chest with exploded mod is what I'm using. It seems like the best bang for your buck. And just to make clear, if you're going to use an explode mod chest, you need to use Grave Bind on the Animate Guardian's gloves. You can also use Impulsa if you can figure out a way to fit in Skitterbots by using like an Enlighten and maybe like a Reservation enchant or some other things. That's up to you to figure out. I'm not doing that. If you're really broke, you can just throw an Ambush charge on it and give it some defense. So gloves, right, you need Grave Bind. What those do is make it so any kills that happen, it thinks that, or it makes it so any kills that happen, the Animate Guardian is basically who gets those kills. So the explode mod will apply with it. Or you can use Southbound if you aren't using an explodey chest, which just gives them a bunch of life. Boots, Wicked Destruction for Shock Trail, it'll give you a little bit more damage. Or you can use Rare Boots with Sapped Ground, Eldritch Implicit, which will sap the enemies, which make them deal less damage. Weapon is Dying Breath. That'll just give you some damage and cast speed, I believe. Spectres, I'm not really sure the ideal setup. I'm just using the 2 Stygian Silverbacks, which you can get in Act 2 Riverways. I'll put the locations in after the video, so it'll say that in the notes. Then the gear priority here, what you want to prioritize on your gear. Yeah. Skills. I went over the gems there. You're going to need Desecrate for your offering and for bossing to take use of this passive. Bone Offering, you can also use Flesh Offering. I should put that there too. Then your curses will be Despair and Tempt Chains. You can use Summon Stone Golem. If you want, you can use Summon Carrion Golem. It's really not worth it. You're better off with the Life Regen from Stone Golem. And then you'll link your Golem to Feeding Frenzy. And then that'll give you some more damage and it'll, yeah, help you out there. Spectre, you just need linked to Minion Life and your Animate Guardian as well. You don't really need any other defense other than that. They pretty much always survive. So I'm using Molten Shell. If you're in softcore, you don't really need to use it, but you can do it in softcore. So if you're going to use Molten Shell, you're going to need an Unset Ring, which can be a little annoying. So if you don't want to do that, you can use Scrap Molten Shell, and you can swap your Ascendancy, giving up a little bit of damage, but you get some more defense. You can swap it to Bone Barrier. This gives you the Bone Armor skill, which is basically like Steel Skin. And then you can use that and like put on your left click or something. And then Vol Haste. I have my Vol Haste on left click, so it just pops whenever it's ready. And then you use Divine Blessing with regular haste, since this is an EB build. And then Determination. Shield Charge for your movement skill. You don't need to link Shield Charge or whatever movement skill you decide to use with faster attacks because you are plenty fast from haste. And then Envy, it comes from your sword, and that gives you like a big flat chaos damage buff to your minions. And since you don't actually benefit from it, you should like give it Generosity. Yeah. So something you might want to consider doing to be a little bit more tanky is you might want to use Glorious Vanity here. And then use actually don't do that. I don't know why that's there. That's probably what I messed up with Control Z. All right, so you don't want to do that, but what you can do is I'm using Mind Over Matter. This is what I was trying to say, Mind Over Matter, not Glorious Vanity. So use Mind Over Matter and it'll make you a little bit tankier. So the issue with that is you might not have good enough sustain to keep your Eldritch Battery energy shield up all the time. So what you would want to do is get an Aegis Aurora, and then that should be good enough to keep it up, and it gives you a little bit of tanky. But if you're finding that you're running out of energy shield a lot, you can just drop Mind Over Matter. It's not super huge or anything. It's just a little buff that'll help you with some sustain. But yeah, that is that. Not sure if there's much more to say other than that. I think that's about it. I don't know if I mentioned it, but like later on, what you can do is in your belt, you can swap out your poison jewels in your belt and just put all the poison jewels on the tree and have poison on each one of them so you get to 100%. And then you can put like chance to avoid, freeze, or ignite in your belt, and that'll give you pretty much capped for that. Being immune to ignite really helps not lose your energy shield and your Eldritch Battery if you're using moms. That's nice. And then if you get freeze immune, you can swap your Pantheon to a different one. Oh yeah, Pantheons. So you basically want to use Brine King for the freeze immunity, and the stun immunity is nice too. And then you want to use Rice Slotha. Relic Cache, because bleeds are really OP, but you can swap that around for whatever you want. It's not really that huge, so yeah. Now that is about it. Bandits, kill all. Yep, that's about that.